My boss likes my body and my size. The interview. The office was modern, sleek, and intimidating. Glass walls, marble floors, and perfectly groomed receptionists. This was a different world than what I was used to. I tugged at my blouse, feeling a little self-conscious. I knew I had curves, the kind that made clothes fit a little too tight in some places and too loose in others. It had always been a source of insecurity, especially in corporate settings where everything felt tailored for slimmer frames. "Miss Taylor? Mr. Lawson will see you now," the receptionist said with a polite smile. I nodded, grabbed my folder, and walked down the hallway to the CEO's office. I was applying for a role as executive assistant to the founder of Lawson Enterprises, a job that paid more than any I'd ever held before. When I walked in, he stood up. "Call me Jackson," he said, extending a strong hand with a charming smile. "And you must be Emily Taylor." "Yes, sir, Jackson," I said, shaking his hand. He gestured for me to sit. I noticed his eyes lingered on me a little longer than they should have, first on my face, then subtly down to my hips and thighs. I swallowed nervously but forced a confident smile. "You have a very impressive resume," he said, flipping through it briefly. "And I have to say, you carry yourself with confidence." "I try," I said, feeling a flush rise in my cheeks. "I like that," he said, his voice slightly lower. "In this office, confidence matters. And personality." The way he said that word made me shift slightly in my chair. He was direct, in a way that was bold but not unprofessional. Yet, "I think you'd be a great fit," he said after a moment. "The job is demanding. Long hours, close communication with me. You okay with that?" "Yes, absolutely," I said quickly. "Then welcome to Lawson Enterprises," he said, standing again. "I look forward to working closely with you, Emily." His handshake this time was firmer, and his eyes met mine with something unmistakably personal. I didn't know what I was stepping into, but I had a feeling things were going to get complicated. Up close and personal. My first week at Lawson Enterprises passed in a blur. I'd barely had time to breathe between meetings, calendar updates, organizing reports, and running errands for Jackson. He was a perfectionist, but never cruel. Demanding, yes, but always watching me with that same intense look. Like he was sizing me up for something more than just work. One afternoon, as I was organizing files in his office while he was finishing a call, I bent slightly to reach for a binder on a lower shelf. I felt the weight of his gaze before I even looked up. When I straightened, he was watching me over the top of his monitor, his lips slightly parted, eyes flicking away a second too late. "Sorry," I muttered. "Don't be," he said, smoothly standing from his chair. "You don't have to apologize for being yourself." I tilted my head, unsure. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean," he said softly. "I notice things, Emily. You carry yourself like you're used to hiding. Like you think your size makes you less qualified or less capable." I froze, heart thudding. "I hired you because of your skills," he added. "But yes, I also notice your confidence, the way you own your space. You shouldn't shrink yourself. I like people who take up space unapologetically." I didn't know what to say. No boss had ever said anything like that to me before, especially not a man like him. Handsome, sharp-jawed, and powerful. And yet he was standing so close now that I could smell his cologne, woodsy and fresh. "Thank you," I said finally. "I meant what I said," he replied, looking at me with heat. "And if I ever cross a line, tell me. I respect you." With that, he walked back to his desk and returned to his laptop like nothing had happened. But something had. Something between us had shifted, and I felt it in my chest. The dinner meeting. 2 weeks later, Jackson asked me to accompany him to a client dinner. His usual VP was out of town, and he needed someone sharp to help with notes and logistics. "Wear something elegant," he said, handing me the reservation details. "It's at Le Chanson downtown. Very upscale." That night, I wore a fitted navy blue dress that hugged my curves in all the right places. I second-guessed it for an hour before finally deciding I wasn't going to shrink myself. Not anymore. When I walked into the restaurant, Jackson was already waiting. The look he gave me when he stood up was unmistakable. His jaw tightened, and his eyes slowly scanned down my body like I was the only thing worth seeing. "You look stunning," he said. "Thank you," I replied, trying to keep it professional. But my cheeks burned, and I couldn't help the small smile that followed. The dinner went smoothly, and after the clients left, we ordered one more round of drinks, just the two of us. "That dress," he said, swirling his wine. "It suits you. You don't let it wear you, you wear it." "I was nervous," I admitted. "I wasn't sure it was appropriate." "It's more than appropriate," he said, leaning in slightly. "I've worked with 100 assistants, Emily. None of them ever made me forget I was at work." His words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. "I don't want to blur lines," I said softly. "Neither do I," he replied. "But maybe some lines deserve to be blurred." The elevator. A week later, after a late night finishing up a quarterly report, it was just the two of us in the office. Everyone else had gone home. The city lights glittered beyond the windows, and the silence between us was warm. "Let me walk you to the elevator," he offered. We stepped in, and as the doors closed, the air shifted. It was too quiet, too close. His arm brushed mine. I felt my pulse quicken. "Emily," he said, voice low. I turned to face him. The lights from the panel cast shadows on his jaw, making him look even more intense. "I've been trying to keep my distance," he said. "But it's getting harder." I swallowed. "Why?" "Because I'm not blind. And because I'm a man." He stepped closer, but not too close. Just enough for me to feel his warmth. "I like the way you move," he continued. "The way you look when you're focused. The way you walk into a room and own it, even when you don't realize you do." My breath caught in my throat. "I'm not just your boss," he added. "I'm a man who likes your body, your voice, your fire. And if I had my way, I'd show you just how much." The elevator chimed. My heart was pounding. Neither of us moved. Crossing the line. That elevator ride changed everything. 4 days afterward, we pretended like nothing had happened. Meetings resumed. Memos were sent. But every time our eyes met, it was electric, like the current had never stopped flowing. Then came Friday. A light rain fell as I stayed late, organizing financial documents. I heard his office door open, then his footsteps. Jackson appeared, no tie, shirt sleeves rolled to the elbows. "You've been quiet," he said. "So have you." He took a few steps closer. "I've been trying to be careful. I know how this looks." "You're my boss," I said, barely above a whisper. He nodded. "And you're the most beautiful distraction I've ever had." He reached for my hand. I let him take it. "I keep replaying that night at the restaurant," he said. "The way you looked, the way I wanted to touch you and didn't. I don't want to keep pretending, Emily." "Then don't," I said, heart pounding. The next moment happened fast. His lips met mine with a hunger I didn't expect. Strong hands pulled me against him, and I felt every ounce of the desire we'd been ignoring. I responded without hesitation. It was messy and deep and real. But when he broke the kiss, he whispered, "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I've never been more sure." The morning after. I woke up in his penthouse the next morning, his arm wrapped around my waist, my body still tingling from the night before. We'd stayed up late, talking, laughing, and loving like people who'd waited too long. He kissed my shoulder. "You're going to be a distraction in every meeting now." "I already was," I joked. He turned me to face him. "It's not just physical, Emily. I want more." My heart stopped. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." "But the company." "I'm prepared for the fallout," he said. "Let them talk. Let HR do their thing. I'm the CEO. I make the rules." And I'm not letting you walk out of my life. I blinked, unsure if I should believe it. He touched my cheek. I don't want to hide this. I want to date you. For real. Not just after hours, not just in shadows. My throat tightened. You're not afraid of what people will say. They'll say I'm lucky. He smiled. And they'll be right. The world reacts. News spread fast in the office. Some coworkers whispered. Others rolled their eyes. But no one could argue with the way he treated me, respectfully, professionally, and with total transparency. He even held a staff meeting. I want to be honest with all of you, he told the team. Emily and I are seeing each other outside of work. It was mutual, and we've taken every step to keep things ethical and open. She's still one of the most competent people I've ever worked with, and that's not changing. And just like that, the whispers died down. Eventually, people got used to it. They saw we weren't just fooling around, we were serious. And for the first time in my life, I felt both desired and respected. Owning it. 6 months later, I stood at the mirror in a fitted burgundy dress as Jackson zipped it up behind me. You always look beautiful, he whispered. But that color. You really like the way I look? I asked. I still had moments of doubt. My curves, my size, it hadn't always been easy loving myself. I don't just like it, he said. I crave it. I love the way you fill a room, the way you wear your confidence now. You own every inch of who you are, and that's the sexiest thing in the world. I turned to him. You changed how I see myself? No, he said. You changed. I just saw you before you saw yourself. More than enough. A year passed. Promotions came. I became director of operations. Not because of Jackson, but because I earned it. And through it all, he never stopped reminding me of the things that mattered most. I don't want a magazine-perfect woman, he once told me. I want you, the woman who doesn't fit the mold, who walks into a room and makes it hers. You're more than enough. You always were. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way you expect. It sneaks up on you, in conference rooms, in quiet dinners, in late-night elevator rides. And sometimes the man you never thought would notice you ends up being the one who sees everything. Including your body, your size, and your worth. The end.